Hello there. Nice to see you. Welcome, everybody, to the Daily HiFi podcast. We do this every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My name is Chana. With me, as always, we've got Aaron, Mike, and Joe. Did you like that one, Mike? Was that
I've lost it. Oh, my gosh. I'm like beat red. I don't know why that was so funny, but that was not what I expected from you, Chana. That was awesome.
I know. Everybody's here today, so
yeah.
Surprise, yeah.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Yeah.
Even Angela says she wasn't ready for that intro.
That was awesome. That was classic, Chana. Yeah, I love that one.
It was good. Just trying to change things up. Yes, we have everybody in the house today. Hope everybody had a great weekend. What's going on? What's going on with you guys?
Oh man.
I mean, I can tell the guy below me here got some new wax for that forehead. He's extra shiny today.
Wax for the forehead.
I'll show you some wax on your forehead.
Wax on the forehead.
Well, wax on, wax off.
That's right, dude.
Wait,
man.
Pew 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 pew.
That's fired.
Fire.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. It's all right though.
A little bit.
What's up with you? I guess we can't say too much, huh, Chana?
Oh man, some secret stuff.
Our project that we got going on.
Y'all got a project?
Yeah, we got a little project going on.
Man.
Yeah. You see that? You see
project
that means?
Chick. That just made me think of that song.
That's like your hands are itchy because like money's coming your way.
Is that a Juvenile song?
Supposedly.
No, they're building a daily HiFi playhouse, like up a tree house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's like a community. People can just come and hang out, listen to some tunes,
Yeah.
Review some speakers up there, and then
word.
A little treehouse, little clubhouse.
Yeah, that's right.
That's sweat from Aaron carrying the show. Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh man, I'm feeling tired.
Tristan coming with the big gun.
I'm just gonna relax.
No, it was somebody else. That was Reverend Slim that said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell my wife, I'll be like, man, it hurts. And they don't fall for it anymore, but they used to. They'd be like, my wife or my kid or my mom or whoever. They'd be like, what hurts? And I'd be like, being this good. So, all viewers out there, try it with your family. Hey, Alexa, play NSYNC.
Got headphones on.
How many?
I'm not doing it for y'all. I'm doing it for everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, you got to use. I use Google, so I think it recognizes the voice too. So if it's like, I don't know who that.
Oh,
person
so
is.
I got to
You
do
have
it
to
in
imitate me.
voice.
Yeah.
Hey Google. Hey Google.
Is that how I sound?
Play NSYNC. No,
is that
sounds kind of nerdy.
Oh man, I need to turn up the bass in my voice then.
Turn up the bass.
What's up, yeah?
Hey, baby. What's up, players?
Yeah. What's up, Anthony? What's up, everybody? Reverend Slim, Stop the FOMO's in the house. Chris Wyndham,
That's right.
True Voice of Reason.
FOMO's still
in
New York.
Jude.
They just had the 4K TV shootout and 8K TV shootout. So the TV shootout from Value Electronics just finished yesterday, I think. I wish I could have gone, but I was already booked for the for that weekend. So,
you've been busting out some weddings, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I gotta work. So next year, I'll try to be there next year. It's just like M-Wave. I need to know the dates ahead of time because look, I've been booking out for next year already.
There you go.
Just got an email. Someone wants to hire me on my birthday.
Wow,
on my birthday next
Might as well. Happy birthday to me. I just got paid.
Because even somebody was like, it was one of my students. Oh man, that's your birthday. I'm like, well, I could just work it and then celebrate my birthday the next day with an extra X $1,000. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, because prices are going up. Prices are going up come October. So let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hey, real quick, I am excited about that stuff that we're working on, Chana. I can't wait to.
I know. Me too.
Show
me too.
What it is because
I sent out some emails.
Dude, you've been like, we kind of talked about the idea, and ever since you've just been like, I don't know, nonstop on this thing.
Oh,
messaging me at random times of night. Oh, dude, check this out.
I'm like, okay, last one, my head's starting to hurt. Last one, try this out in your system.
Yeah. What else? Yeah. What else? Oh, Aaron, you recently had Randy Cheap Audio Man on your channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
That was fun. Yeah, it was
I caught some of it, probably about 3/4 of it.
Yeah. That's what she said. But yeah, that was a good show.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah, man. I thought that was cool of you to do that. I thought I was gonna be on, but I guess that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. No,
Nah, it did not.
No,
but it's all good. I was in the chat, and
you were
I thought it was kind of.
He was trying to egg it on.
Yeah, and so you know what's funny is like, I know what you're kind of thinking at certain points. You know, when you're like, of course you don't always agree on everything, right?
Right.
How many times do we disagree here?
All the time
on everything, right?
Yes.
So I think it's totally normal to disagree, but I think maybe that one was kind of like he was new to your channel. He's like a guest, right? And so you kind of want to be careful when somebody new, you meet somebody new, you're just not like going all out saying all kinds of crazy.
Oh,
you're not
that wasn't the purpose.
You're still trying to build rapport, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're just trying to.
Joe was hoping that was the purpose. He's like poking the bear in there. Bear wasn't moving.
At least towards the end. I'm like, so what does it mean when two audio reviewers review the same product, but really have come to different conclusions?
Different results.
What does that? What should that mean to the consumer? Right? They're looking to buy this product, and then they hear two guys talking about it, and then it's like different conclusion. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
It means one of the two people can't hear.
There's that. That's when I say, let's look at the data. Let's go to the data, Chuck.
Let's look at the data.
Throw up that graphs.
Let's look at graphs and talk about how it defines everything we hear.
So somebody last week was like, I need to knock out. Where's Aaron with the graphs?
Wow.
Whoever that is, tell them to call in today. I want you to call in today.
So anyway, I've been thinking about that particular question because does that necessarily mean like, oh, one guy's completely wrong, right? He doesn't know what he's talking about, or maybe like they put more weight on certain things, on certain aspects, right? Like I might care more about aesthetics or whatever it is, right? Versus somebody else. So maybe we're hearing the exact same thing. If we're in the same room, we're hearing the same thing. Would probably agree on like what's good, what's bad, but like maybe my conclusion as to like what I would recommend might be different. Like I might say, hey, this thing has a ton of bass, and I like it because it has a ton of bass. And you should like it if you don't plan on using a sub, right? Mm-hmm. But somebody else might say, hey, the frequency response up top is not very flat, and so I would say pass on this.
Oh, perfect example would be the TV shootout that just happened, right? Sony, their new QD OLED 1, right? Mm-hmm. But is that the TV? Is that the right TV for you, right? Like if you want gaming features, that's not the right TV for you. If you're in a bright room, however, these new OLEDs get pretty darn bright. So that's now out of the equation. But it's just like that. It's like what is your use case? What content are you going to be listening to? I hear a lot of people, like when I was at NoHo Sound in New York, listening to those $20,000 focals. He's like, well, what kind of music do you like to listen to? I'm like, mostly electronic stuff, blah blah blah. He's like, well, I would steer you away from anything Sonus Faber because a lot of these are going to be really great for mids and highs, not so much bass or anything like compressed music or this, that, and the other. So use case is definitely, part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not sure the Martin Logan nihilist that we had at M-Wave would be good for that either. Little techno, little hip hop.
Humongous.
Not good for that.
They sound amazing, but like you said, I think there's certain speakers kind of shine better for certain types of music
and certain rooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do not buy into different speakers for different music, but I know people who do. I've always kind of thought that was
rock and roll. Got to go Klipsch.
Yeah, you're not for that.
No, I think that if you're buying a speaker to be neutral, then it should be neutral and it shouldn't accentuate or do anything with different types of music. But I mean, like just use the equalizer at that point. But that's my opinion.
You mean treble and bass?
You
don't touch those.
So really, like if you love like just hardcore hip hop rap, a lot of bass, you would actually think that the nihilist would be a good fit for that.
They got a huge woofer, don't they?
I don't know anything about the nihilist.
They're $100,000 electrostat speakers, 15-inch passive driver on the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Oh
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying there is it's not. How do I reword this? Trying to figure out how to get myself back into this because I'm also putting on this watch. Bling bling. Sorry, I stepped out consciously for a second. Yeah, I think if you are buying a speaker that's supposed to be accurate and supposed to reproduce whatever is on the media, whatever that is you listen to, then you shouldn't be buying like one particular speaker. But if you find yourself and you only listen to this one type of music and you want
I don't
this
think
thing,
anybody's like that.
right?
Very
But that's
few.
what I'm saying. So like I don't see the point in buying, because somebody just commented that. I don't see the point in buying a speaker that's good for rock. And then I'm also going to turn around and listen to something completely different genre-wise, because then it may sound really terrible what that other genre, and the more inaccurate that speaker is, and
the more you like
experience, no, the more I don't like the rest of my music. If it's good music, if it's recorded well and done well, then it shouldn't matter. Like you should be able to enjoy it as long as the speaker is somewhat neutral or whatever. And then if you want to go in and sprinkle a little bit of your own taste, if you like X, Y, or Z. But I guess what I'm just saying is I don't like the notion of buying a speaker based on a particular genre of music.
Okay,
to me, that's going
I mean, I don't think anybody would, but I'm just saying I think there are certain speakers that they just don't do as well for certain types of music.
Okay, let's.
So if you buy like a bookshelf and you like that sub wubba wubba,
it ain't gonna happen.
Jed Presley says if you spend $100,000, hopefully it sounds good regardless of the music.
Right.
Yeah, he has a point there, right?
I guess maybe if you hook up a subwoofer with it, then you'll be fine.
So okay, so hold on a second.
Don't do lows. Is that what you're saying with those?
They're not super low.
Yeah, I don't know.
No. I mean, but like acoustic instruments, female voices coming out of that electrostat.
They're phenomenal. I'll be honest with you.
Gorgeous.
Oh, they're phenomenal for sure. I just don't think they're good for everything for sure.
Mm-hmm. So what I was
thinking is, I'm just trolling. I'm trolling you now, bro.
Is I was thinking after your what do you call it? I don't know, podcast with Randy. I said, we should do something that's called like agree to disagree, where like our goal is to like don't try to agree with me, because a lot of times we're trying to be nice. You're trying to be, forget that. Let's disagree.
We're disagreeing right now.
Let's disagree. And so I would.
I know I'm right.
You.
Joe's wrong.
Okay. No.
Here's
what I would say.
Tristan's got a great title for this. It's called Two Guys and a Tweeter.
Oh,
it's perfect. You just disagree.
So let's say somebody's listening to mostly hip hop, right? Hip hop, EDM, right? And they're like, hey, I need just 2 bookshelf speakers. I'm not going to use a sub. This is my first system. Are you going to recommend the same exact speakers as somebody who's like, I just listen to classical music? For me, I would say, I wouldn't expect the classical music to have as much like deep bass extension, right? And so maybe I might recommend something with a flatter top end response for that person, even if it were to sacrifice some bass versus the guy who's going to listen to, hip hop and EDM. I'm like, oh, dude, you're going to need to hear some bass in order to enjoy that music. In those 2 cases, I probably would recommend a different speaker. No?
Yeah, no, I think that's fine, right? Like basically what you're saying is, do you listen? Like I do that in my reviews. I'll say this speaker gets down to like 50 hertz in the room. And for the majority of people, they're probably okay with that for music, right? But if you tend to like music that has lower bass, then you need a speaker that has lower bass, or you need to add a subwoofer, right? I mean, I think that's a pretty typical way to go about it. Like,
would certain genres have different? Typically, have different like ranges, or is that too much? Like, is there classical music that really does have some crazy deep bass extension, and I just don't know?
Yeah, because they have like the deep cello, the deep organ, or some pretty low notes with that.
Right.
I just listen to Kenny G. That's it.
What about Yanni? Have you listened to Yanni?
Yanni, little Yanni. That's his soft flute. I got a soft rock playlist. He's got a soft flute playlist.
You guys, I don't care about your
woodwinds from heaven. That's what the compilation is called.
Somebody mentioned organs. some organs tracks will hit like 18 hertz. No
That's
problem.
what I'm saying. Yeah, they go
Big
really,
old pipe
really low.
organs. Yeah.
Yes, Snoots, I am familiar with organs.
Oh gosh.
Don't listen to a lot of. I don't listen to a lot of organic music.
Organic.
That was good.
Hey, I checked out
organ music, Chana. Organic.
Wow.
Come on, man.
Where's
my
I was just at the market, so I'm like, I was like, is this like the organic cilantro? Is this
organic, man?
Organic.
I thought it was pretty clever, but apparently not.
Yeah, I've never heard a set of Martin Logan speakers other than I've heard them like in showrooms and stuff, but I've never had my own to demo in my own home, other than one of their in-wall speakers, which was really bad. Terrible.
I really enjoyed their 60 XTI. That was probably the first time I'd ever reviewed one that had the AMT tweeter, so I didn't know what to expect with that.
Right.
But mid-range was beautiful on those things, man. Really, really enjoyed it.
See here, Leon says, hey, Leon Noel, look at that. Your first name is your last name backwards. That's hilarious. Okay. I only listen to reggae and hip hop, but the wife loves Adele. So we would have an issue if we bought a speaker with only one style of music in mind. Okay. Fair enough. What would we recommend for Leon here?
Different rooms.
Wifey, go listen to Adele.
Get her own room. I get my own speakers.
Yep. Oh, that's a great one. Oh, Mike.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, a lot of pop music has a lot of bass, actually. So
Adele, especially like electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, majority of music these days is recorded electronically, whether it's electronic or not.
Right. I'll get into that.
Yeah.
See where you're going.
I hear
or maybe you're not, but
I don't know, Leon. Maybe I would go with some Klipsch RP600s. Yeah.
If you like your highs on the bleeding edge, there you go. They are sharp. I mean, that's Klipsch's thing. That's just how they're voiced, right? Like I don't think anybody has ever said that's not the case.
Yeah.
And whether or not you like that, that's your decision.
Yeah, they've only made one speaker that I've owned about 100 pair of Klipsch over the years, and the only model that literally didn't sound like any other Klipsch was the RF 83s. So they had 3 8-inch drivers, but it was a smaller compression. So instead of a 1.75 inch, it was a 1.25, and they're very, very laid back, and so they don't even sound like Klipsch to me. And a lot of people, and I think that's why they only sold them for one season and it was done. They're like, we'll go back to what we did.
Don't you think, Aaron, though, that Klipsch, the sound signature is starting to get more?
Yeah, it seems like it's getting more neutral. But
they're smooth. But I think
it has a little bit, but not like I think before it was pretty intense.
Yeah. Before it was like, ooh.
Well, their original RF7s were probably the brightest speaker I've ever heard. I mean, you crank them up and you're going to get ear fatigue very, very quickly.
I do wonder.
And some people love them though.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They were very, very bright.
I wonder when companies purposely voice their speakers like that. What is the motivation? Like,
what's the driving factor behind it?
Yeah, like, do they have some kind of market studies that? And this is being for real. Like, I'm not joking. Like, is it that older people are typically listen to these speakers, so there's a lot of high frequency loss, and they're trying to count? Or is it like, the old Klipsch speakers used to sound like that, so they've got their customer base set and they don't want to stray from that now? Like,
they're scared if they veer off of it.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Sure.
But then again, it could just be, that they could have a much more neutral speaker and their customer base would probably still be like, I love Klipsch speakers, and I don't care if they're bright, and they're not even bright anymore, but it's just because they're already biased to like that particular sound.
Right.
But they don't realize it doesn't have that sound anymore. Dude, you can get really, how many times have you guys like hooked up a speaker maybe like in the wrong way? I can't think of an easy example, but like you've hooked something up and you're like, something sounds a little bit off, but everything's got to be hooked up, right? So like you basically convince yourself that it's just you. And then you realize, for example, I can't tell you the number of times that I've hooked speakers up and I've had my AVR's EQ is still turned on. And I'm like, man, that's really bright. That's really bassy, because my auto EQ is doing a ton of stuff. And then I realized that it's not switched over to direct mode. And I switched over, like, okay, that's a lot better, but at first you're like, wow, that's not right. Maybe it's just me.
I think maybe early on though, because after you start listening to enough speakers and you have your reference tracks, you're like, hold up, that does not sound right. I mean, if it's what you do on a regular basis, you're constantly listening to reference or trying to figure out what reference is. But back in the day, if I was just messing around with my car system, I'd mess with some stuff. And because I spent so many hours, I'm like, it has to be better, right? And then if you switch back and forth, like, actually, no, I just wasted a bunch of time. That's worse.
Yeah, I've had that happen plenty of times as well.
You know what was funny? When I had those Martin Logans, you know how they need power, right? So I had like redone a receiver, like took one out, put a new one in, connected everything up, and I ran, and it was the Anthem, and I ran Anthem room correction, and I'm looking at the graph for the center channel. There's big dip. I'm like, what's going on? And it corrected for it. I'm like, okay, whatever.
I remember that.
It corrected it. And then like I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, that sounds okay. I don't something different. And then like Ikenga and I were talking about it. I'm like, look at this dip. He's like, that's right where the mid frequency thing is. That's right where the electrostatic panel should be. Is that on? And I'm like, I go around there, and like the little plug for the adapter is just out. I'm like, oh, I'm retarded.
See,
there it is.
And you convince yourself that it had to be right. You know, like,
yeah, I'm like,
sound right, but it's gotta be right.
But then the Anthem did a great job of correcting, so it was like flat, and so it sounded okay.
Stretching
but it was
those
just
panels out, huh?
Just a little bit weird. Yeah, so it happens. We got a 10-pound super chat here from Sigmund. Question: I'm in a space that's 6.5 meters. I did a transformation calculation, whatever conversion. 21 feet by 4.5 meters, which is 14.7. So 21 by 15, let's say. Currently running the KEF 3000 SE HT 5.1 set from 2006 and love what I have. Awesome. Do I build on this by buying more secondhand, or am I missing out? He's got $5,000, wants to get a 724 setup. What do you think?
I think buy another subwoofer. He's got a 5.1.
$5,000 subwoofer.
Well, not necessarily that, but
no, he needs to get other speakers.
I think the reality. Let's see. I want to pull them up. I want to see what they look like. It depends on how well you like them.
They're like about this. Yeah, I took one apart a long time ago. Yeah, they're like satellite speakers. They come in a kit.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I mean, I like four standing myself.
Yeah, I mean, if maybe buy larger front like mains or something. Like right center.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
those.
Here they are. Here, I'll pull them up.
Yeah, pull those up, buddy. For sure.
What do we decide this room size is? What is the
21 by 14?
So that's a big room for satellite speakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So those probably.
I think your center channels
go down
struggle.
to 80 hertz. Like you're lucky if those go down to 80 hertz. I don't know how big those are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 4-inch driver, I believe, or maybe 5, somewhere around that though.
I'm just.
She's having fun over here. She's having fun.
She looks
I'm not
really
sure
upset.
like what models.
She does. She's not having any fun over there.
Her husband, like, she's staring at her husband, like, wait till you go to sleep.
It looks like a Jamiroquai.
I'm gonna buy some stuff. Yeah, it is. 4.5-inch UniQ driver.
Futures.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are the specs on it? Look at her.
Let's see. She was all mad.
Look at her.
I hope that's not the frequency response.
That's like your old setup.
Yeah, right. Here we go. 70 hertz to 55,000. Okay. 65 to 55 on the center.
70 hertz?
Yeah.
Well, what's the sensitivity on that thing? Hold on. Look at the sensitivity.
88.
8? That sounds higher than I expect.
I mean, that's a big room and a small speaker.
Yeah. Satellite speakers are definitely better for smaller rooms.
Yeah, I would say, like if you like those a lot, Angela, hang on to those, but then buy something else for the front mains, something larger. Another KEF stuff.
Those might work for your could work for your Atmos speakers, maybe if you need to repurpose them.
I
don't know.
Hey Joe, what about those little ones you just unboxed?
Oh yeah, so I have some of these.
Oh yeah.
That's why I think it's kind of similar to what's going on with these monolith. What are these? THX compact satellite.
Mm-hmm.
So
4.5-inch concentric driver. Hey, it's almost like a calf, right?
These do go down to 80 hertz. And this room here is 20 by 20 by 9, so pretty big. And you know, I EQ'd this with some with my subs and all that. And I mean, these are much lower sensitivity though, so I don't know how correct the KEF one is, because these are about the same size, 4.5-inch driver, and I think it's like 81 dB sensitivity. So
Segment says he paired it with the Denon 6700 and hear a vast difference already. That's good.
By giving them more power.
So it basically my conclusion in my video that's coming up is basically that they're meant for a smaller room. You're gonna get way more out of these if your room is not so big, because you know, you're really pushing these if you're crossed over at 80 hertz, let's say, for example. And it sounds different. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but it really, you can tell the difference between a speaker that only goes down to 80 hertz versus some floor standing speakers that can go down to like 40 or 30 hertz, and you cross them over at 80. Why? Probably because the you know, the slope is, you know, it doesn't mean that you're not going to hear any frequencies below that, but
right, it just starts to roll off at 80. It still has to roll off, whether it's 12 dB per octave or 20 dB per octave, depends on how they made the speaker. But for the most part, it's not like it's a hard wall at 80 hertz and nothing underneath goes through there. It still goes through.
So I'm trying to figure out why it sounds so different, but it's more like there's just bass authority. You know what I mean? With the larger speakers, it might be hitting the same frequency. It might even be the same SPL and all that. But for some reason, it just feels different when they're coming out of bigger speakers. And so for that size room, I would say bigger speakers.
I would too. That's a big room, I think. You know. I mean, obviously, the more speakers you add, you guys would know about this more than I would. The more speakers you add, I'm guessing the less output you need for each individual one to provide. But I don't know.
Well, that's another thing about the receiver. The receiver is now going to take on, you know, higher load. You've got 5 speakers now. It probably sounds pretty great, but when you add another 8, is that right? My math right? To get 11, I don't know. No, 6. 6. Yeah, another 6. That was totally off. You're gonna have less power going all around. So that's another thing to think about. So if you have something like Joe was saying, a little bit more sensitive, that's definitely going to help. But I have a room upstairs is 23 by 17, and I have standard bookshelf speakers. I don't think and well, 2 15-inch subwoofers, but I don't think. I think a larger speaker would probably benefit your space. We don't know how tall the ceiling is, but if we guess it's like 8 or 9, what is that? Where's my calculator here?
Yeah. And you know what? I don't do measurements of distortion, but I bet you could measure a difference in distortion, right? So if I'm pushing this to the limit, you know, if I have a crossover 80 hertz, the tiny speaker is going to be at the very, very edge of that limit, right? Versus the bigger speakers probably like, yeah, you're good. It's just cruising, you know? And I think that maybe you'd be able to perceive that a bit.
You're at 2,520 cubic feet in that room. So larger speaker would be better. Like I'm at 1,140 in here, and I got little speakers, and they're totally fine. But that's another 1,000 cubic feet less. So
that's a good question, Aaron. What would explain that? Why would a speaker, like a small speaker like this, that's crossed over at 80 hertz, why at 80 hertz would it sound different than a floor standing speaker also crossed over at 80 hertz? Like, what are some reasons that kind of make sense?
Well, so like if they had the same acoustic roll off point, right? Like if the speaker itself was basically the same, I would think the one that has higher output capability is going to have more dynamic range, right? Like you can push a little bit harder and get a little bit more volume out of it. So,
and dynamics are is that like easy to like
that start to stop, that snap? Like we hear a snare, you hear a snare, attack. You hear a snare and you like blink because it pops out at you, but in a good way.
Attack, not the transient,
right?
The attack,
right? the attack.
And you test
some
for that
some of these
stuff?
some of these YouTube influencers, audio influencers, don't know the difference between it.
So you test for that, Aaron? Like, what measurement would show that particular thing?
Well, I mean, I try to test for that. I mean, I don't know if it's foolproof, but one of the guys who used to design JBL's big boy speakers told me it was a good idea. So if I got his blessing, I don't really need anybody else's.
There you go.
Get that dirt off my shoulder real fast. Anyway. So I test the frequency response at like a low volume level, and then another higher, and then another higher. And then I basically just compare, like, does the frequency response change as I increase the volume? And if not, then you could assume that whatever, if you're listening at like 70 dB and you have like a 20 dB dynamic range, or like a swing of like 20 dB, then it should play that the same, but if it's compressed, then it's not going to give you that full 20 dB. It's going to give you like maybe 10 dB or something like that. So it's not going to have that same like real life kind of sound to it. That's the best way I could think to describe it.
And very audible, would you say? Like something like that would be easily,
that, like
record it and like let somebody hear that.
Right. On its own, you maybe not notice it, but I think if you A/B it, like you can tell there's more. I don't know how to describe it other than just attack, like John said.
Yeah. Interesting, because I've definitely I think that I've experienced that, right? But I've never done a blind test where you don't know which speakers they are. Usually like the big speakers, like, okay, I'm expecting that type of thing from the big speaker.
Right.
So what is Croson saying here? Like a car that goes max 60 versus 200, if the speed limit is 60, the car that can go 200 doesn't even sweat. Okay. Yeah.
It's acceleration.
Somebody,
not velocity.
Reverend Slim said something about headroom. You got extra headroom.
Yeah.
For transient bursts to be clean. Small speakers in that room would just ride the limits. Yeah.
I think it's important, though, to try to communicate what that is to somebody who may not get to test out a bunch of speakers. Maybe they're just buying their first set of speakers, something like that. What would be, like, how would you explain that?
How do you explain attack?
Attack. The stuff that you're saying, because you hear the audiophiles talking about, like, fast bass.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it starts getting to a territory where, like,
I love the transients in this record. Get out of here with it.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's a tough one.
Can you guys hear my AC? Because I have this thing blasting.
I just heard it, but it's
a little bit
very faint.
Now that you mention it, turn off your AC, Joe.
Second.
It's not that hot.
Hold on. I wonder if I can do. Let me see if I can give an example. Okay, so I'm gonna snap, and then I'm gonna bypass my compressor on here and see if that works. I don't know that it will. So I'm gonna snap with this is compressor on, right?
We hear it. Still hear it.
Okay. Did you notice a difference?
Not
much. You didn't notice a difference? I was just curious. I don't know if this compressor would work for that, but that's kind of the idea, is that it chops off. Like if you've got a signal that spikes really high, let's say it spikes like 20 dB.
Like flattens that top end.
Yeah, it just chops the top end off. So you don't get that extra 3 or 6 or whatever,
Oh, that's a good way to explain it. That's interesting.
Well, my job's here is done, so see you all later. It's not going to get better than that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Audiophiles say this. Like Joe isn't an audiophile.
Chana needs to make a video about like top 5 or top 10 audiophile sayings that he hates, because you're coming at it from the perspective not just as a reviewer. And this is serious. You're not just a reviewer, but you actually make music as well. So that would be funny. I'd like to hear yours, even if you make it private. Just send it to us. Patreon exclusive.
Well, it's like, when someone says like, I love the transients in this record, I'm like, the transient is the like little bit of sound right before the sound. So that like in like a snare hit or that right before the cymbal. So is that, did you want to hear a whole album of transients? Like, no,
that could be a new genre, Chana.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like,
it could be a transient.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Dude, that's good. I like that.
And so, like, if I look to the left here, I have a Moog Model D, which is the fabled Moog Model D. You've heard it, countless albums from Devo, Whip It, to the bass Michael Jackson's what is it, Billie Jean. The lead sound in Dr. Dre's Nothing But a G Thing, that's from this synthesizer. If I look to the left, there is an envelope, right? And it's an ADSR, attack, sustain, release, decay, release, right? So that's just the way a sound works. Mm-hmm. And so the beginning of the sound is the attack, right? But right before that is the transient. And I think these so-called audiophiles on YouTube don't know what they're talking about. And so yeah, sometimes
that's why I don't even use big words like that.
I
know it sounds weird.
I gotta laugh. Sometimes I just don't want to say anything because it's just like Boxcar P. Artist intent is annoying. Yes, it is. You don't, in this day and age, you don't know who the artist is. Actually, back then you kind of didn't either. So, there you go.
So now I'm going to have to go purge all of my videos for every time I've said transients. How many times did I say transients? I'm going to start writing this stuff. I'm going to start making a script. So
maybe should I make it a series? Silly audiophile sayings.
You really should. I think
I've already thought about it. I've gone through a whole bunch of different things. But
so would you say that if another audiophile reviewer were here and like he always talks about transients, would you say the same thing? Or would you just be like,
bro,
I wouldn't mention it. I wouldn't mention anything unless they said something about it. Yeah. Like, hey, did you check out this new album? It's got some great transients.
This guy.
I'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up, bro.
Oh my god, look at Shauna.
But yeah.
What about air? What about, so I know I've definitely said it, but air around the instruments. That's another one that gets me. Like, all the air around the instruments. I'm like I get it. Every once in a while I hear a speaker that I feel like does that, but for the most part, I'm like, I don't think all speakers do that well.
There's a couple of places when you're mixing to, in a certain track, add air. Okay. Whether or not you're hearing that as a consumer on your setup is totally different. Right. But it's usually like, if you want to put on a little bit of air, that's usually in the 10K range. Right. And you would use something like a Pultec EQ, which is like really just it's not like Joe, like an EQ where you can select every frequency any frequency you want. It's not like that. It's like literally set, so you just kind of click over to 10K and then you just bump it up a couple of notches.
Dude, right? Like a graphic equalizer, right?
On your
not like a graphic.
Not like a graphic.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, because parametric and then graphic.
Yeah. So parametric, you can choose whatever frequency you want. Yeah. So with the Pultec style of EQ, you would go to 10K and then bump, attenuate, boost it. Sorry, attenuate is cut, isn't it? Oh, no, attenuate is boost. I don't know.
Attenuate is
on your Rodecaster. Don't you have bass bottom? What is it? What is it called?
I got
bottom.
Big bottom.
Big bottom on.
All right. Yeah. Turn on the other one. Turn that on and off. That's what I think of when I think of air.
The oral exciter.
Yeah. Hit.
That's
test. It's okay. Here it's off.
Terrible.
It's off.
Okay, so that's off. Listen to Sean right now.
Now it's on. It's on. It's off. Off. On. Off. On. And
I can't tell the difference.
That's at 3600 hertz. So that's kind of like
interesting.
Well, if I turn up the mix, I'm sure. Here.
Oral exciter.
Off. This is off. This is the oral exciter off. This is the oral exciter.
Oh, yeah. You can definitely tell a difference there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's your air right there, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, this is at 3600 hertz. Okay. So it's a bit lower, but yeah.
So the thing always sucks, like when you try to add more air, like used to be, maybe not so much these days, but like a lot of lower, cheaper DSPs have a really poor signal noise. So when you try to add like 10 to 12 to get a little bit more air, then you just hit background noise. Like it's all you hear.
Yeah.
It drives me insane.
Yeah, some air on my mic right here. Hold on a second. Here we go. All right. How about now? Does that sound different now? Do I sound like Aaron's impression of me?
You sound like this.
How you like my S's right now? S's?
I'm going to add some air into my mic.
Oh, my God.
What else?
You can.
There was the air.
Mike
added some air.
Uh-oh.
We're going to have a fan competition right now. Tornado.
No.
Is it OnlyFans? OnlyFans?
OnlyFans.
Welcome to the OnlyFans segment.
Oh, mercy. It's getting hot in here.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting because I'm looking for different audio interfaces for this mic. And a lot of them have like a button that's for like more air. Like they call it different things, right? But they just add that particular sound that I guess people are used to hearing from certain mics, you know. So anyway,
yeah,
kind of interesting.
Hey, before we get too far, Ronzi had a super chat, and then he posted probably about 10 further down his actual question. He forgot to include that.
Let's go.
So take a look at that one. See if you see that one, Sean. It's about 10 comments after it, the super chat.
You want to go?
We got Ronzi.
Go down about 10.
Question. Oh,
yeah. So go down about 10 comments.
Oh, here it is. I just got a new sub, 2 Monolith 15. Damn. Those are big. I have a lot of options at my disposal of dealing with them. I use a mini DSP 88 BM. But I'm curious, what do you all do to deal with crossover dips?
Mm-hmm. So part of that, I mean, I'm not a mini DSP guru by any means, but sometimes if your speakers are in different locations in your room, they're going to interact with each other differently. And so maybe one of them, you're going to have to add like delay. So that might be what you're running into. If you're taking a measurement, you got a big dip. Some also time alignment. Is that kind of the same thing, Aaron? Time alignment and delay, or is that two different things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, when you time align those two speakers to where they're basically that frequency and that, you know, that each speaker is hitting your chest or hitting your body and your ears at the same time, that's when you're going to get the best frequency response from that. So that might be one thing that you're dealing with. So either having to move a subwoofer around the room to find out where you get the best frequency response, or playing with some of the settings in the mini DSP, such as, you know, the delay on one of them. And the cool thing is, again, I don't know how exactly it works, but I've seen guys do it with my own system, and they'll actually they'll take like the center channel, and the center channel will play like a little chirp sound, just a real high pitch frequency, just real quick. And then it kind of measures, you know, I guess it's taking a measurement of that, and then it measures that in comparison with the sound that comes from one subwoofer. And then it does it from the other subwoofer. And then it says, okay, I can tell using that as the like single point of reference, how those two delays different. So, but again, I'm not sure exactly how you're going to have to, you know, do that, but it's got a lot of stuff to, kind of like a lot of tools built into RAW, but you got to know how to use them. What are you doing, man? Is your heart beating?
Yeah, they're walking. They're running upstairs.
That's the girls.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting hearing you explain the DSP stuff, Michael.
Yeah, it's hard because that's, again, kind of above my knowledge. I mean, I've done some of the mini DSP, but man, I did the best I could. And then I talked to a friend of mine, and he's like, I got you, man. So he dialed into my system like you do with Magic Beans. He was able to knock it out in about 4 hours, and we had a really nice flat frequency response.
So to answer that question, I'm kind of curious as to like what's causing the crossover dip. Was it not an issue before you added the subs, right? Because that would tell you two different things, right? So if your frequency response was good, no dips whatsoever, and then you added subs, and all of a sudden you have a dip, that means that they're out of phase. And so you may want to switch that little button that says, what does it say on the mini DSP? Like invert, something like
Invert,
that. Yeah. Or just change the you know, play around with the delay to see when that dip goes away. You know, I think that's something you could easily try. What else? What else we got here? Let's do a quick rapid fire.
Hold on. Reginald said something. He says China. First, it's China, not China. See China, 2 N's. That's what people used to tease me back in what do you call it? Elementary school. Anyway, sound can't happen before it happens. I was talking about transients. So the definition of transient is lasting only for a short time, right? Now the transients in acoustics, it's a high amplitude, short duration sound at the beginning of a waveform the beginning of the waveform that occurs in phenomena such as musical sounds, noises, or speech. So before you actually get to the attack of the sound, like if I look at a kick drum sample that I have, there's a big line for when the kick happens, but there's this little bit that happens right before the attack. That
like
Reginald,
a build up. Interesting.
I always thought it was at the end. I don't know why I thought that.
You can I don't know if you can have.
I thought it was at the end. Like you hear the attack and it's like whatever the trailing.
That's the decay. That's that's the sustain part of the ADSR.
Well, what do I know?
Or the release. That's the release part of the ADSR envelope. But yes, it's sound can happen before it happens. That's illogical. Yeah, but it's actually there. And when the audiophile reviewers say transients, that's actually the transients. They're probably talking about the attack. Because I mean, who cares about that sound? That's not what you're listening for.
That's ASMR.
Oh,
that's ASMR.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah. Anyway,
so the ultimate transient, is that an impulse response? Is that the ultimate attack?
I don't know.
Oh, see,
I'm still confused about what an impulse
Croson says generally you talk transient within sounds or between sounds.
Yeah. So there it is. My Aura 3D setup has airy transients. I bet you hear angels in them too.
Transient
Aura 3D or
after
Atmos?
The initial attack, not before. So after
I don't know, man.
attack?
I don't know. I see a whole lot of transients. I've been working on a lot of music lately.
I don't know.
There's a lot of transients in all these samples and recordings. But again,
actually, Reginald, with DSP, you can have a sound happen, not like in real world, you know what I mean? But like theoretically, it's called pre-ringing, where the sound, like the equalization, causes some kind of like sound before the actual sound's supposed to happen. But anyway, it doesn't.
And we're talking about a fraction.
Right?
We're talking about a fraction of a second before
like
the
milliseconds, basically.
A millisecond of a millisecond, a microsecond. So it's transients first, and then decay is at like after the sound.
Transient attack.
Transients to lead up. Decay.
Attack. Decay. Sustain.
I think this deserves
release.
a video.
I don't know about no sustain. I know transients.
SR.
Impulse. Decay.
I want to see a video on this, Chana. No B-roll. Just you here. Just go for it. Yeah, that's it. I want a video.
All right. HiFi, thank you for the super chat, buddy. $10. Awesome. Thank you. I've built an endgame setup. Endgame. That's right. You have. It's pretty awesome from the picture I see. B&W 800 series home theater. The Michi P5 really does sound better than the 8805 and 2 channel. And there's no EQ in the P5. Do some folks not use Odyssey with their pre-pros? I'll tell you what. Odyssey really needs a revamping a little bit, I think. That's me. I think a lot of Croson, I'm sorry, bro.
Wipeout.
Like the Wipeout needs revamping, Odyssey needs revamping, Macaque or whatever's in the Pioneer.
I don't want to hear about that.
Macaca, I don't know what's happening there. Accu EQ, that thing needs to be thrown away. Whatever Sony's using, look, bottom line is, I think.
Call me up. Call me up. I'll tell you guys how to do it. You guys can pay me a lot of money. I'll tell you exactly how to do it.
Joe can help you out with that. But the bottom line is, there he is. There's Paul. The bottom line is, a lot of these companies like to do one thing. I've noticed they like to do one thing and one thing only, and that's rest on their laurels. It's time to wake the fuck up, motherfuckers, and actually put something in here that consumers actually like. Like Odyssey has been fucking shit up for a while, and it wasn't until Joe did Magic Beans. I'm like, why is this center image going to the left and right and not giving me a center image when it's in stereo? But then the Magic Beans, it's doing it properly. Why? It's because Odyssey's been messed up for a long time, and I don't think they really care to fix it. So just throw it away, get Dirac Live and all of these AV receivers, and let's call it done.
What would be good is actually they should just make a mode that's just level match, and what else should they do? And time alignment. Keep it simple. Don't do anything. Don't do any EQ. Just level match and time alignment. You guys can do that pretty well.
I gotta give it up for Onkyo, Pioneer, Integra. Sure, let's toss them in there for going out on the limb and just adding Dirac Live, adding something way above. Like those AVRs punch above their weight class, 100%. $1,500 for an AVR with Dirac Live. Yes, it's not Dirac Live with bass control, 100%, right? But it's so much better than what's in there. And there's these guys at these companies are just so like full of themselves. Oh no, we got Wipeout, man. We got Odyssey. We've been doing it for 15 years. Get out of here. Get out of here. Like I've been so trying to like not be negative in my Yamaha review that this is apart from that I'm going to record because it's,
so you don't like Wipeout in the. You tried it and you didn't like it?
No, even the new Wipeout with the like base whatever thing that they did, and this is a $3,000 or now $3,200 receiver. Like, come on, let's get better room correction. We know that you guys at like, Paul's level at like Don, right? He spent 4 months learning how to like manually calibrate everything so that his Yamaha sounds good. Who the fuck wants to do that? Who wants in their right mind is going to spend $3,000 and then another 4 months to learn how to do this manually? Let's stop all this bullshit and just get Dirac Live in there and stop. What, you don't want to pay how much is their license? $200, if that. 300. I know people always talk about, the DAC's in the receiver. Dude, a DAC chip is like $100. Get out of here. Like, get out of here. You want a different DAC? Get a different DAC. It's relatively like it's a nominal price, but like it doesn't make any sense. And I think a lot of these manufacturers of AVRs really need to take a cue from Onkyo and just bite the bullet and be like, well, you know what? Dirac does it better. Like just admit it. Like that's what it is. Anthem room correction. Totally cool. I'm totally cool with that. They don't need to add Dirac. Anthem room correction's pretty on par with Dirac. So,
I mean, I'm friends with the guys at Odyssey.
I know. Right? You talk to them,
and when I talk to them on the phone, I tell them exactly what you're saying. I'm like, you know what? I think this other one's better. So I don't know what else to tell you. I think it sounds better. I think they're doing something more correct than you guys are doing. So I feel like I can say something because I've told them. I've said the same exact thing directly to them. As far as the Wipeout, from talking to Paul, the issue that I see is even if you want to do manual calibration, set your own PEQs and all that, the problem is that on his, what I remember is that there were set frequencies only. Like you couldn't just choose any frequency. There were like set frequencies, and then within that frequency, like it was very limited, right? You couldn't just set your own PEQ. It was like, only these. The problem was mainly the frequencies that you had to choose from. You couldn't just choose any frequency to EQ. It was like a set amount. So anyway, hopefully, I think what these guys should do is just make it so that they do level matching and time alignment, and also give you the option for PEQ, let you do whatever you want, and that'll fix a lot of issues. Right? Just give me 10 bands of PEQ for each speaker. That'd be great.
Yeah. Joey, you bring up a good, very valid point. What percentage of the consumer do you think really care or understand it? I would say 95% of the consumers don't care. But here's the thing. Every time I read these, like, because I follow Yamaha, I follow all these manufacturers on Instagram and stuff, and man, their marketing department makes it sound like this new piece, new AVR, new whatever is the best thing since sliced bread. Just slightly better than last year's model, but like, really, they're trying to sell this stuff like it's great when it's just kind of like meh. And there's just better out there. And of course, I understand they're running a business, so they need to increase their bottom line, right? And so like they're not trying to add on another license. And I mean, how did Onkyo and Pioneer do it, right? Like you plug it in, you plug in the mic, and you actually can choose whether to run Dirac on an app for your phone or an app on your computer, or you can run the macaque that's in the receiver. Okay. So
Yamaha is I think they have a office near where I'm at. So Yamaha, you guys can hit me up. You can license, magic beans. You can say Yamaha with Joan tells magic bean settings.
Damn.
And I'll tell you guys how to do it. But you guys got to pay me a lot to make that thing better.
At some point though, Joey, like it should be like on the conscience of these companies to just put out a product. Yeah, sure. Yes. People just want to have like you plug in this microphone, you hit the button, and it figures it out. So why don't you put the best thing in there? And like there's just a time to be just like, hey, we had a good run with this. Yeah, we did it for 10, 15 years. It's still not better than this option. Let's just scrap our option and go with this option and pay the $50 per unit or whatever, their deal is. But then again, I'm not the one calling shots. I'm just a dumbass with the YouTube channel.
Real quick, so Reverend Slim says the speed of sound.
I was about to say that's a pretty good assessment.
So this is true. What Reverend Slim is saying, that there was an issue with the delays that were set, and actually they don't have that issue if you use multi-QX, but it's $200 more. So if you were to do auto calibration but use multi-QX, it does the timing properly. So something to know. But yeah, imagine that even time delay was incorrect before. Isn't that ridiculous, right?
I'm not surprised.
That's crazy though, because how many consumers have that product and use Odyssey and did their whole system using that?
Yeah, they just assume that it works. Like, oh, this is how it's supposed to sound.
And then you hear people saying like, hey, I did my manual, calibration method, and the distances were off. And I was like, how could that be? That's a simple thing to do. But maybe they were right. Maybe it has been off this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah. Midgard says so much money just to get our home theater to sound excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there definitely is a barrier, and I do like what Joe's got going on because he likes to find like what did you say before? It's like when you buy a nice German car with like the good sound system and stuff like that, you're like, okay, it's already done for you, right? You spend all that extra money, but you can kind of tweak a few things, and if you buy the right parts, you could have something that sounds on par with that. Might not be exactly that, so you just have to you gotta subscribe to Joe's channel, of course, and and you kind of have to do a little bit of research. I'm sure you could spend more time than money and end up with a better system the more time you invest into the hobby. So yeah,
that's part of the fun though, right? Is trying to make your system sound better, because who really needs a home theater? Like, needs a home theater? I don't think we need a home theater. I mean, it's a fun thing to say that you have, and it's fun to work on it. And Michael does his tours and he has fun. I think one of the best things that I heard you say in your last video was like, what's your home theater if it's just you and the gear? Who cares about that, right? It's about you and the gear, but also like you're talking to other people. How do I make this better? No. Right? That's what it's about. Right. So
all about the community, man.
And Aaron, he does these measurements and stuff like that. I mean,
he's all by himself with a robot in a garage.
Hey, man,
he's by himself.
That robot, the robot in a garage. What kind of robot? What kind of content are we making here?
I don't know. We were talking about fans.
Only fans.
I want to hear a binaural recording of the Klippel just doing its thing. Can I do that? Going around in a circle.
Can if you want to, man. Fly on over. You can hang out in that garage all day if you want to. I'll even bring you water.
Here's a question: do you hear that thing doing its
in my sleep? In my sleep, I hear it in my sleep. Yeah,
are you serious?
I hear it in my sleep.
Are you like? Is it because it's actually on, or is this you're so used to hearing
because
it?
I'm so used to hearing it, dude.
Wow. See what he does for you guys. Just so you guys can get the measurements. He dreams of.
It was running all weekend when I was in the garage building some speakers.
Wow.
So I heard it in the garage next to me going, whoop, whoop. It does it 5 times. The 4 times for averaging and 1's the pre. So
this is for you, Aaron. It's not getting any bigger no matter how much you measure it.
Oh man, it's going introverted on me.
You got to hit that invert button.
Yeah, that's right. Reverse polarity.
Got a question from Damian Jackson. Hey, Mr. Chana, I've just started using DVD Fab Page for all of my DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K Blu-rays, and I'm loving it so far. Hey, awesome, man. I'm glad you like it, which actually segues to this article I saw last week, like a few days ago, 5 days ago, 6 days ago. And it says that 4K Blu-rays just hit their highest sales ever. Can you believe it?
Is that true?
Look at that.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I think so. Going through the article, it says like all sales are down by about 20%, but 11% of the total sales are on 4K discs, which are about 200 million discs or something sold, which is not bad. They are attributing some of it to obviously streaming. It's low, but it finally beat out DVD and standard Blu-ray. And they say it's a bunch of like collectors. So that's you guys.
So what happens when you show a graph of like how it looks compared to streaming though? It's just like,
oh yeah, streaming is still like, king these days, especially with more and more people getting fiber, access to fiber, setups and whatever. But
hold on, did you say collectors? Like people actually collect 4K discs?
Yes. Steel books. Oh,
yeah.
Like this. See this?
Okay. That's news to me.
This is a Westworld.
Is that Wonder Woman?
Westworld.
So I saw something interesting mentioned in the steelbook. So I was at a gentleman's home theater in Kansas, and he took magnetic strips, stuck them on the wall, and he positioned all of his steelbooks like on the wall. It looked really, really cool, man. Great way to organize them and kind of display them.
I just ordered the Top Gun Maverick, even though there's no date for it yet.
Yeah, I did that.
I went ahead. I should have done it a long time ago.
You could do that, huh? You can.
Yeah, whenever they. But it's cool for like Amazon because sometimes
I got the steelbook for that one.
Did you?
It'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll forget that it's coming out. You'll
he's collecting it. He's a collector.
I have three steelbooks, I think.
Right. How much worth of Blu-rays you think you have? Like if you were to add up like the cost that how much you've spent. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I only got like 24K.
This is the Steelbook of Alita Battling.
I don't have.
I like that movie.
China's got way bigger collection than I do.
I bought all these for my stupid Zapiti video.
Right?
Are you kidding me? Bro, tax write-off, bro. Come on. All these movies.
So think about this. I kind of had a not a cheat, but my son is like a crazy collector. I mean, like he's got just hundreds and hundreds of Blu-rays and 4Ks. And so when he was living here 2 years ago, I just always pop in his room and say, "Hey son, can I borrow this?" And he's like, "Yeah, Dad, here you go."
Yeah.
And so I had Blockbuster in the next bedroom kind of thing, except I didn't have to pay for it. I just go borrow it. So then when he moved out, I'm like, oh crap, I got to start buying these things on my own. So, but yeah.
Look at Aaron. By the way, Aaron, when you said LOL, you're like this. You're like,
LOL. I giggled.
You let a little bit of air out your nose, and that was an LOL, right?
That was it right there.
LOL.
Here's a good question from Leon. Chana, put that one up there. Says, going back to the Kef question, if you're adding a subwoofer, are you wasting your money on towers, and should you just buy monitors?
Sorry.
So I like having towers, and the biggest thing I'm thinking of is typically, well, let's think about it this way: if you have to buy a speaker stand for a bookshelf speaker, in my opinion, I'd rather just have the tower. It's going to take up basically the same footprint. Now, if you've got like a media stand and you're going to put the bookshelf speakers up there because you don't have the width for it, then I can understand that. But I like towers. I think they provide a different overall sound than a bookshelf speaker does. Kind of that more full sound that we were talking about earlier in the show. So
I think I would agree with that. I think sometimes though the bookshelf speakers half the price.
Correct.
And I think one good thing to consider is if you get a bookshelf speaker, if you decide to upgrade later on, that can become, a surround speaker or something like that. If you go with the floor standards, like that's gonna always be.
But so
I will. go ahead. Go ahead.
So my thought on that, people always ask, like, what should I buy first? Well, to me, it would be your front two speakers. So get the one, to me, I would rather save up and get the ones that I want with an AVR, use that, then eventually, you know, buy your surrounds, buy your center, buy your subwoofer, and those types of things. True. I'm not even talking about those, man. Dude, I've had Polk Audio towers, and I love those.
Well, no, your towers were La Scalas until you got the RTJs, right?
But I mean, but even before then, my towers were Klipsch RF83s. I've had RF7s, RF72s, RF73s. I've had a bunch of towers over the years. I used the Polk Audio RT800s back in the day when I worked at Circuit City. Those are great towers. They weren't real big. They had dual, I think, 6.5-inch drivers in them, soft dome tweeter. So they were great speakers. I don't think you have to have massive speakers, especially if you've got a quality subwoofer or more than one subwoofer. But I prefer. Yeah, I've never had size envy.
I used to think that way as well. It's like, you know, I'm listening to 2-channel music. I don't necessarily need to have subwoofers on, right? Because the 2 towers are.
Man, I love subwoofer.
Are taking over. So I was on that game plan for quite some time until Joe fine-tuned my setup, and I'm like, oh man, I don't need towers. So then that was awesome. So I was just like, okay, I went with the all bookshelf setup with my new focals and the 2 15-inch subwoofers. They're not small.
Something new coming in, right? You said you got a new sub coming in?
It's already here, dude. It's been here for like a month. Oh, really? I haven't had time to open it. Yeah. But yeah. No, there's even an RCam. I was supposed to open the RCam today and shoot, but I had like so many other things I needed to do today. And I got caught up with all that other secret sauce.
Hey, have you guys tried Dolby Atmos on what'd you call it, like Apple Music? Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Not Apple Music.
Well,
like
I'm trying to remember. Like, TV. I've used like with the headphones.
Yeah, they're spatial audio. Is that what you mean, Joe?
Well, I just for the first time I tried it in my home theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but it does work with, you know, headphones also to do the whole head tracking thing with AirPods Pro or AirPods Max. I don't know which specific things it works with, but you know, I thought it was kind of interesting because I think some of the old Beatles albums that I know those pretty well, right? I know how they're supposed to sound, and I know where the panning is on a lot of these, and so it was just kind of interesting to see what they did to rework that to make it Atmosy, you know. And the interesting thing that I found was, I think that it was more impressive. This is kind of crazy, right? I thought it was more impressive coming out of these MacBook Pro speakers, not as far as like frequency range, of course, right? More like, wow, like I feel like I'm listening to these little, you know, computer speakers, laptop speakers, and it does sound like it's like surrounding you. I'm like, oh, okay. It makes sense for Apple Music, right? So if you're in their ecosystem, you got Apple Music, so you have to subscribe to them. You have this expensive, you know, MacBook Pro with some pretty good speakers, like pretty impressive speakers. I've measured them, and they go lower than you'd expect because they use like force canceling woofers on these things. It's probably like tiny, but they produce some bass, and they know your listening distance, right? They know how far you're going to be from them. And so when you're listening to music on here, you're like, whoa, what the heck? That sounds kind of crazy. And then, of course, if you have the AirPods Pro, it does the head tracking. But when I listened on my home theater system, nothing about it was like that special, you know, because I'm used to hearing immersive sound here, right? So nothing about it was like extremely like, oh my goodness, I need it to listen to music in my home theater. But I did think it was cool for listening on a laptop or with Apple AirPods. So anyway, that's my take. Just wondering if you guys had any experience with them. So of course, Reverend Slim, anytime I say Atmos, he's like Candyman. He comes in. Atmos mixes depend on whether they're made them naturally or gimmicky. Billie Eilish's When We All Fall Asleep album sounds incredible. Yeah. So I listened to some more of the more recent ones, I guess you could say.
So I'm gonna show you one, Joe. I want you to listen to.
All right.
Here we go.
All right.
It is called on Apple Music. It's incredible. To be honest with you. See if you can see that.
Let's see what we got here. Your recommendations have been hit so far. What is it called? I can't see that, bro.
It says 3D.
Yeah, it's guy.
Wow.
It's
Kraftwerk.
Kraftwerk. Yeah.
Kraftwerk. Okay.
This one's called Radio. It's basically like radioactive, but it's Radioactivitat Live by Kraftwerk. Okay. I'll show you a close up.
All right.
Right.
I saw them at Coachella.
I'll write it in right now.
Dude, it's phenomenal. I'll text it to you.
Kraftwerk is one of the pioneers of electronic music.
It was really awesome.
4-person group from Germany. Yeah.
We were doing a home theater tour with our VIPs or actually VIP Gold and VIP Platinums, and Jonathan played that track, and he was like, because at first it starts like this staticky stuff, and you're like, oh man, his speakers, they're kind of messing up. But then you're like, no, that's in the music, man. And then you start hearing it, and it just starts building it. Man, it gets intense. So if you guys had, lots of transients, man. That's all it was just transients.
Here we go again. You guys don't even know what transients are.
Chana didn't
actually.
Crack,
you know what?
Man.
You know what's really funny is there's this producer guy that I watch, and he went and he took 2 records. One was a standard record at that time, 1978, and Kraftwerk's debut album, and he's like, listen to the attacks on these sounds. This like Kraftwerk is like nothing anybody was putting out in 1978.
Yeah.
So that video just popped up. Like I just saw it like a couple days ago.
Finally, you and Reggie agree on something.
You know what's interesting though? It's like Kraftwerk.
Oh,
Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk. That's what it is.
My dear Lord.
Oh,
this is terrible.
Reggie, that is actually hilarious. That's a good. That's a good. Man, me and Reggie actually agreed on one thing. Finally,
I know. See,
Reggie, we're bonding, bro.
What's going on here?
Don't let him know that.
Man.
Nah, you gotta say something.
Yes, Paul. Yes.
Should we do a quick rapid fire thing for Tim? Can we just answer some quick questions that are in here? Like super quick.
Okay,
quick.
Here, well, I saved this. From a price perspective, would you rather get the tower speaker of a lower level model or the bookshelf speaker of a higher level model? Very good question.
I think bookshelf of higher.
I think that's probably what I would go with.
Because you're getting better quality components, you know.
Generally run a sub anyway, so
yeah.
I guess
so
it depends.
But perfect example I think is B&W. They've got plenty of different lines, 600, 700, 800.
Yeah.
Would you rather get the towers of the 600 or a pair of the bookshelf 700s?
Well, it depends on how nice the towers are to begin with, like on that lower end. You know what I mean?
They're pretty good.
That's what I'm saying. They're
pretty
good. There's a difference between, if you're talking B&W and you're talking monoprice, speakers. So,
well, I would say
even though
pretty flat, don't they?
I was about to say, even though
you're paying extra for it, right? So if you're paying extra because it looks a little bit better, it has a nicer finish, maybe not. So go to Aaron's site, look and see if he has reviewed these speakers, and look at the 2 measurements and see there, like, what are you giving up by going to one model versus the other? Because I know you've reviewed a lot of Polk stuff, and so it's not all the same, right? Maybe a different company might have different varying degrees of what's good and not so good. So
yeah,
if you can get some measurements, that would be great.
I agree. Yeah, I've had this conversation with somebody somewhat recently. I cannot remember who that was though, but we're saying not all companies like scale up. Like sometimes their lower end stuff may not be good and their higher end stuff really is good, and sometimes it can be the opposite. Like what you're getting for the price on the lower end may be good, but their higher end stuff may not really be what I would deem as worth it to bump up to that. So
is there any pattern to that? Like maybe the bigger companies are better at doing the lower cost stuff. Is that have you seen that versus like the more,
Yeah, so actually I remember who it was now. Somebody messaged me and asked like what brands that I would typically recommend that have like good stuff throughout. And it was last week actually. And I think, like I said, like Kef to me is probably one that's safe. And I started to say JBL, but then I thought I've listened and reviewed some JBL stuff that's on the cheap end that I did not like at all. So it's I don't know, man. I just don't know. Right? Yeah, it really is. It really is. Right.
Truth. Yeah.
Right. I would say monolith, but somebody's gonna call me a shill. but
no, I would too.
Not so much mono price. So mono price can get a little bit crazy over there. Monolith, if you stay within that range, I think it's kind of a safe bet, safe-ish bet. I don't know.
But I mean, it's like when you're shopping for a TV for Black Friday, you could go with the 85, but you could get a better 65 for the same price. Like better on the line, better model, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of things you got to weigh out when you're going to buy stuff. All right, so let's see here. Chana, what is better, ISO or MKV? We're talking about ripping 4K discs. ISO is an image file, so that will extract the entire disc. MKV is just going to get that one file of the movie. So if you have a lot of space and you want to keep intact the menus and stuff like that, as special features
extras,
or whatever's on the disc,
all that stuff.
Yeah, you would go with ISO. It's gonna. I'm reaching for something. Game of Thrones. I took the ISOs of all of these for the entire box set. Man, there's like 300 some gigabytes each season.
Wow.
8 seasons of this. I just finished ripping them, so I don't know, a couple of 2.5 terabytes on my hard drive. And guess what? On all these, there's 4 discs per season. There's 3 episodes on 3 episodes, 90 gigabytes for 3 episodes. So if you don't want to do that, go with MKV. That's really the bottom line. And then, depending on your 4K media player, whether if it's Shield Plex, you need to have MKV. If you go with the Zapidi or Zydu, then you can do either ISO or MKV.
Zidu.
Yeah, Zidu. I do Zidu. Is that like a Mountain Dew
Zidu
commercial? Zidu. Did Sony win the TV shootout? Yes, Sony's brand new QD OLED or Quantum Dot OLED won. Second place, I think, was the Samsung S9. It's not Samsung's OLED. Wait, I gotta relook at the thing. But 8K was the Z2 by LG. So LG won the 8K. The 4K was won by Sony's new Quantum Dot OLED. I think that's pretty much
all right.
All the questions.
Very cool. Well, we have our after show. Patreon.com/daily HiFi. If you want to talk to us after this, that's what we do after every show. And it helps support what we do. And Tim, who makes all the daily videos. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, Tim.
Aaron even smiles for the patrons.
Yes. Yes.
See, it hurts.
And then he actually shows you his hair. This is actually just a bald cap. He gets back there and he lets it all hang out.
I do let it all hang out. And that's where I show you the hair.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to be a part of that, go to patreon.com/daily HiFi, become a patron, and you will get the link for the video chat where we can video chat, or you can video chat with us, kind of like in the same format, just without all these extra 100 people. Anyway, if you are not a patron, we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel here at the Daily HiFi podcast. And if you are watching or listening on the replay, make sure you subscribe up and come join us for the big show every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. On behalf of myself, Aaron, Michael, and Joe, see you next week.